Hey guys, it's Bliss here. Welcome back for the last day of my Spooky Week series. And what would a spooky series be without a ghost story? In today's video, I'm sharing the story of the Sallie house. At 508 North 2nd Street in Atchison, Kansas, sits what is now known as the Sallie house. The Sallie house was built between 1867 and 1871, but the haunting wasn't recorded until the 1990s. 3 natural deaths are documented to have taken place in the house. Michael Finney in 1872, William True in 1918, and Agnes True in 1939. The house was owned by the Finney family until 1950, after the death of the final owner, Dr. Charles Finney, in 1947. Legend has it that Sallie was the child of a neighbor to Dr. Finney. Sallie became seriously ill, likely with a burst appendix, and the neighbor brought her to Dr. Finney. As the story goes, Dr. Finney began emergency surgery on Sallie in his own home, where she died from shock and blood loss. It's said that Sallie the ghost attacks men in the house out of anger due to this botched surgery. The Sallie Isabel Hall is documented to have lived in the house in 1905, but she was actually a 34-year-old black woman. Tenants Tony and Deborah Pickman moved into the house on December 31st, 1992. Deborah was pregnant at the time with their son, Taylor. In March 1993, the Pickmans began experiencing minor paranormal activity, such as their TV turning itself on, lights turning off and on, especially in the nursery, bangs, knocks and thumping sounds, and pictures on the wall turning upside down. In the summer of 1993, Deborah gives birth to Taylor. Her sister Karen stays with them for a few days to help with the new baby. On July 14, 1993, they discover Taylor's toys in a circle facing outward in the middle of his bedroom. Thinking one of them is playing a practical joke, they put the toys away, turn off the light, then go downstairs. A little while later, they went back upstairs to discover the light was turned back on and a teddy bear was lying in the middle of his room. The next day, they decided to leave the house and spend the night at Tony's parents'. As Tony was leaving the house, he felt stinging on his back. When he lifted his shirt, he had 3 long scratches going down his back. This was the first of many scratches Tony would suffer while living in the house. Eventually, the Pickmans turned to a psychic who claimed to sense the spirit of a 7-year-old girl named Sallie who had died in the house. When the psychic asked what she was doing there, allegedly, Sallie said she was protecting the Pickmans' newborn son, Taylor, and that she scratched Tony in an attempt to protect Taylor from harm. Deborah, thinking Sallie was the ghost of a little girl and something of a guardian angel to baby Taylor, bought her toys and welcomed her into the home. Weeks passed without incident. Then one evening, when Karen and her husband were over at the house visiting, a teddy bear sitting on a chair across the room burst into flames without a discernible cause. On October 31st, 1993, Tony comes face to face with Sallie in their kitchen. After running to tell Deborah, he drew a picture of what he saw. A former resident of the house claimed that her daughter had an imaginary friend while living in the house, and when Tony showed her the picture he'd drawn, she confirmed that was her imaginary friend. Months passed without incident. Then one night, Sallie appeared in their bedroom and grabbed Tony's wrist, burning dark red finger marks into his arm. We're dealing with something way beyond a little girl. Tony was constantly being scratched, bruised, and bitten. He begged Deborah to move the family, but because she hadn't experienced the negative attacks that Tony had, and she believed Sallie was simply protective over Taylor, she refused. Tony began to feel resentful towards Deborah for her skepticism of Sallie being something other than the spirit of a little girl, and her refusal to move. It got to the point where when I was in the house, I could not think any happy thought. It was just strictly I wanted to hurt her. I was a whole different person. As much as I hate to say it, I'd planned on slitting her throat. That something can come inside me and make me capable of doing that, it tears me up. The Pickmans called the psychic back for a second consultation. This time, the psychic claimed that Sallie was not the only entity in the house, that there was an older female, and that she was actually the one causing all the trouble. The psychic recommended the Pickmans contact a paranormal investigative team. My first reaction was no way. Although Tony was against the idea, Deborah was insistent. She wanted answers. And so Tony gave in. A few days later, the paranormal team arrived, led by world-renowned medium and researcher Peter James. Immediately, Peter told the Pickmans that he saw a little girl around the age of 7 looking out a window as he and his team arrived. During the investigation, Peter also picked up on the older, more powerful female spirit. And once again, Tony was scratched. Peter believed the older female spirit was trying to repel them. He began to receive visions of a servant and alleged mistress of the owner of the house in the early 1900s. Sallie was their daughter. The 7-year-old apparently contracted pneumonia and died as a result. Peter recommended the Pickmans set rules for the spirits and to conduct a cleansing of the house. Several weeks after the investigation, Peter James contacted the Pickmans wanting to conduct another investigation. Deborah was all for it, but Tony didn't think it was a good idea. He finally breaks down and admits the negative and aggressive feelings he's been having towards her, and that he believes Sallie's the cause of them. Deborah finally agrees to move the family. In 1994, the Pickmans finally move out of the house. Once we moved, the heaviness, the bad thoughts, just everything was instantly gone. You know, I've never felt that way since. A new family moved in, but never reported any paranormal activity. But during a surprise visit, the landlord, Les Smith, allegedly discovered a pentagram painted on the basement floor, along with an altar, a large black kettle, and a black robe. Many believe the new tenant was a Satan worshiper. To this day, there's a large black mark still on the floor where the alleged rituals took place. For a time, the house sat abandoned, but eventually the house was opened for tours. A tour guide claims to have seen the apparition of a male Native American on the grounds and believes it's this spirit that has left marks and bruises on her. In 2007, Tony returned to the house with a paranormal group. The moment he entered the house, he was immediately thrown 4 feet, then pinned to the ground. Someone in the group cried out, "In the name of God, let him go," and Tony was immediately released. Psychics that have visited the home claim there is a dark presence in the basement. In 2014, Zach Bagans and the rest of the GAC investigated the house alongside a young psychic medium, Anissa Bue, and Deborah and Tony Pickman. Once in the house, GAC member Jay Wasley is scratched, and Anissa becomes dizzy due to the energy there. While investigating the basement, Tony and Anissa are simultaneously attacked, with Anissa collapsing and Tony being burned across the base of his head. Throughout the rest of their investigation, the GAC experiences equipment malfunctions, bangs and knocking sounds, hearing footsteps, disembodied voices, and a trigger object moving in what was once baby Taylor's nursery. In 2016, BuzzFeed Unsolved's Ghoul Boys, Ryan Bergara and Shane Madej investigated the house where they experienced a flashlight turning on and off seemingly in response to their requests. Although they don't capture much evidence, Ryan is so freaked out he bails on the investigation partway through, and has since refused to ever step foot in the house again. So what do you think? Is Sallie just a protective ghost? Or is she something much darker? So that's all I have for you guys for today. I hope you've enjoyed the Spooky Week series, and I will see you again soon. Bye.
Mine is an evil laugh.